Good morning, students. Class 6th. Yes, hope you have gone through the preview of this chapter which I had posted last week, and I'm sure you must have enjoyed watching it. So, now here I am here with chapter 5, What Books and Burials Tell Us. So, what books and burials tell us? Books, we all know what does it mean. Burial, it is a site where do we bury the dead. Now, as we can see here in this clipping, there are certain scripts which have been written. Of course, the historians must have deciphered it, and there is one burial site also which is given in the clipping. Before I proceed, let me make it clear that burial sites were mostly famous of Inam Gaon. Inam Gaon was a site. Yes, Inam Gaon, very well acclaimed site. It was post Harappan agrarian village actually, and this archaeological site was located in Maharashtra. So now proceeding further with the books, there are 4 Vedas: Rig Veda, Samved, Yajurved, Atharved. The oldest Veda is Rig Veda, which includes more than 1,000 hymns called Sukta or well said. These hymns are in praise of various gods and goddesses. 3 most important gods are Agni, Indra, and Soma. So Agni is the god of fire, then Indra, the warrior god, and Som, that is a plant from which a special drink was prepared. Here the clipping is given about the Vedas: Rig Veda, Yajurved, Samved, and Atharved. As it suggests, most of the hymns were composed by sages. Hymns, if you don't know the meaning, let me make it easy for you. Hymns are those prose form which can be sung to tune. Right? Priests taught students to recite and memorize each syllable, word, and sentence bit by bit with great care. The Rig Veda is in old or Vedic Sanskrit, which is different from Sanskrit we learn today. So now how it could be different? Now, as we all know that Sanskrit is a part of a family of languages known as Indo-Europeans, and later on it progressed and it adopted few things from other languages, but it remained original. Now, who composed the Vedic hymns? These were composed by sages. Sages or rishi, ascetics we generally say. Priests taught students to recite and memorize. Memorize is to learn by heart. Now the Vedas. Few hymns in the Rig Veda are in form of dialogues. One such hymn is a dialogue between a sage named Vishwamitra and the 2 rivers. Which are the 2 rivers? Beas and Satluj, that were worshipped as goddesses. Yes, there was a complete conversation between them. Vishwamitra calling on the rivers to come down from mountains like swift horses, like 2 shining cows. I mean, he used all those good things to address them. And he also said that you move like chariots to the sea through the power of Indra. You're full of water and wish to unite with one another. Then the rivers also replied that yes, we are full of water. Move along the path of gods have made for us. But once we start flowing, we cannot be stopped. Why do you pray to us? So say. So there was a conversation because this was more or less known that whenever we means the people in the past, they took everybody to be as somebody who is a living soul, and hence they took permission that I mean, if they are plucking fruits, if they are taking water, they simply took permission. Like if you remember those things from Ramayana, Lord Sri Rama also asked and took the permission of, yes, the great ocean before crossing it. Now here it's a clipping of a sage writing the Rig Veda. Now in Rig Veda there are many prayers for cattle, children and horses. Horses were yoked to chariots that were used in battles, which were fought for cattle and land. Now which was important for pasture and for growing crops that ripened quickly, such as barley. Some battles were fought for water and to capture people. Now the question was of survival. Greener pastures because they were having animals with them. When those people, they were having animals with them, they needed some greener pastures where they could graze their animals, their cattle. And with the cyclical movement, they had to move around. They have to move downwards, or maybe like if it was located in the higher altitudes, they have to follow the path wherever they are still green rather than not snow laden. There were battles also fought. That they were leading normal life. The wealth that was obtained was kept by leaders. Some was given to the priest, and the rest was distributed amongst the people. Whereas some wealth was used for the performance of yajnas or sacrifices, in which offerings were made into the fire. These were meant for gods and goddesses. Offerings could include ghee, grain, and some cases even animals. We all know that whenever we have a kind of puja ceremony at home, this ritual is also involved in it, where a Brahmin has to be there. He would be performing yajna, where you generally offer certain things as ghee and all those grain into the fire, and you chant swaha, right? Why do we say swaha? Swaha was the wife of Agni, so we offer it to Agni. So at times they used to they believed in sacrificing the animals in temples or on big occasions or kind of any festivities. They used to offer animals. There was no regular army. There were no assemblies where people met and discussed matters of war and peace. They also chose leaders who were brave and skillful warriors. Most men took part in these wars. Now people were divided into a number of tribes, janas, and each tribe consists of many villages. Each tribe had a king or chief. Two assemblies were there. What were they? The Sabha and the Samiti. Now people were described in several ways in terms of work they do, the language they speak, the place they belong to, their family, their communities, and cultural practices. There are two groups that are described in terms of their work. The priests, sometimes called Brahmins, who performed various rituals. Of course, in under our Hindu religion, no ceremony can be performed on our own. We have to have a Brahmin who's going to perform the rituals. And the Rajas, what was their role? They did not have capital. There's nothing much to mention about the Rajas because they did not have palaces, neither did they have armies, nor did they collect taxes. And even there was no dynastic succession. What is dynastic succession? It means that the sons did not automatically succeed as Rajas after the death of their father. So no such thing of relevance was existing in those days. Now, two words which were used to describe the people or community as a whole. One was the word jana, which we still use in Hindi and other languages. And the other was wish. The word Vaishya comes from wish. The word Vaishya has been derived from the word wish. Several wish or jana are mentioned by name. We also find the reference to Puru jana or wish, the Bharat jana or wish, Yadu jana or wish. So these were the originating words. Now groups of people. Now here in terms of work and yes, as a community whole, as a whole community. In terms of work, Brahmins and Rajas. And here in terms of community as a whole, Jana and Wish. And as described by people who comprised, yes, so they were Aryans and Dasas or Dasyus. These were the terms which were designated to them. Now, sometimes the people who composed the hymns describe themselves as Aryas and call their opponents Dasas or Dasyus. These were people who did not perform sacrifices and probably spoke different languages. Later, the term Dasa came to mean slave. Slaves were women and men who were often captured in war. They were treated as property of their owner. Yes. Even when their women slaves were there, they were used to be termed as Dasi. So it was feminine form was Dasi. And they were being asked to do work for them, maybe common household work for them. Now, daily life. People were divided into a number of tribes, as we found it just here, that is Janas. Each tribe consists of many villages. Each tribe had a king or chief, and two assemblies were there. What were the assemblies? Sabha and Samiti. Right? Now coming to the other section of the chapter. Now till now we were talking about the existence of the people during the Vedas, the period of Vedas. How was the situation and scenario? Now we are going to talk about the megaliths, silent sentinels. Now the stone boulders are known as megaliths. They were used to mark burial sites. The practice of erecting megaliths was prevalent throughout the Deccan, South India, in northeast and Kashmir. Other megaliths can be seen on the surface and few are often underground. So these megaliths were used as boulders. Boulders, that is huge piece of stone. And those huge pieces of stones were, what were they done? They were used as so as to mark the burial places. Now the word megalith means big stone, a burial boulders used to mark burial sites. The practice of erecting megaliths started around 3000 years ago. Now it was found throughout South India, Northeast and Kashmir. Now how do the megaliths show that there were social differences? Somewhere the objects were, yes, objects were buried along with the dead. Archaeologists find circle of stone boulders or a single large stone standing on the ground. These are the only indications that there are burials beneath. All the burials have some common features. The dead were buried with distinct pots, which are called black and red ware. Iron tools and weapons are also found. This is what I was stating right now. Now the people were buried along with so many articles as per their social status. So if a person has been buried with all those belongings, whichever he was fond of, and which go by his status. So, this was how their social distinctions were also made out. I mean, how do we get to know what status this person was holding? But with their burial spots, burial sites, we can find that. See here, one picture is given about burial. Lot of gold is there with a skeleton. Yes, which shows that the person was of a high status. Now, sometimes megaliths contain more than one skeleton, which indicates that people, perhaps belonging to the same family, were buried in the same place, though not at the same time. Stone circles or boulders placed on the surface served as signposts to find the burial site so as to return to the same place. And then the dead was brought into the grave through portholes. And now this is very important. Portholes were actually those openings in the ground from where the dead was taken into the grave for the burial. Now here we are talking about burying the dead. This we have a clue that they believed in life after death. As till date, we Hindus believe in life after death. That is why, here although we do not bury the dead, we cremate the dead. But after that, we make sure that the Brahmin is given all those things which the person who has died, he was fond of, or he used to use them, believing that he may be given in the further journey. Now here's a map of India. Can you make out what is the special feature of this map? Now, apart from those rivers, one village is marked here in the southern region. Which is that village? Inam Gaon. As in the beginning I said, Inam Gaon has lot of significance because it has many burial sites. Inam Gaon has many burial sites, and that is why it has lot of significance. It is although located and situated along the right bank of the Gode River, which you can see it here. Yes. It is in Maharashtra. Nowadays, if you talk about in today's scenario, Inam Gaon is a village in Shirur Taluka of Pune district and Maharashtra as a state. The region around Inam Gaon forms a part of the lower reaches of the Gode River, and the major tributary is Bhima. So in any case, Inam Gaon is one of the most intensively and extensively excavated and well constructed Chalcolithic sites of the Deccan region. Now proceeding further here, Inam Gaon's mysterious burial. Even in the pots and so many articles of craftsmanship, they have been buried along with the dead in one of the burials. In Inam Gaon, burials were within the houses. In Inam Gaon, burials were within the houses. Many a places, many a times it was found. Vessels that contained food and water were placed with the dead. One man was found buried in a large 4-legged clay jar in the courtyard of a 5-roomed house in the center of the settlement. Now it also had granary, and the body was placed in a cross-legged position. Now granary, because whatever the crop cultivation they were doing, the surplus grain was of course procured, and they had to have a granary for keeping it for another season, for another year. Now special burial in Inam Gaon here. The skull, skeleton, some of the jewels, ornaments which are seen here. Now, occupations at Inamgaon. Seeds of grains like wheat, barley, rice, pulses, millets, peas, and sesame were found by archaeologists. Bones of number of animals with cut marks were found, which show that they may have been used as food. Now, with this, how do you get the clue of occupations? They were cultivating these crops. Edible crops were being cultivated by them. They were also into hunting. They were also into performing rituals and sacrifices, which have been found by the archaeologists. Bones of number of animals with cut marks. It showed that they must be knowing how to cook food also. So now here millets and peas, sesame, of course they were edible crops. Now animals include cattle, buffalo, goat, sheep, dog, horse, ass, pig, sambar, spotted deer, black buck, antelope, hare, and mongoose. Besides birds, crocodile, turtle, crab, and fish. And evidence of fruits like bear, amla, jamun, dates, and variety of berries. Now, before we proceed, these words have been given, which they have been given the meaning along with. Sukta, well said, chariot, used in battles. Yajna, sacrifice. Dasa, slave, megalith, stone bowl. Now, yajna, sacrifice. We also perform a yajna, but when we are offering ghee, when we are offering grain in the yajna, they are symbolic. We are not sacrificing any animal at home, isn't it? We are simply performing yajnas, which is believed to be offering given to the god. So now, with this we come to an end of this chapter. As we find that here we have already discussed the megaliths, we have discussed the burial places, burial sites. Even most of the times it was easy to make out the skeleton of a child if it is of a small size. If the skeleton is having a lot of jewelry, we believe that it belonged to the skeleton was of a woman. So these things had been deciphered time and again by the archaeologists and historians. And as far as the writings, which small scripts have been shown here in between, I've inserted few illustrations. So these writings were on animal bones, and at times they were oracles. I may be teaching you later on. Oracles was being practiced because they used to perform this. It was like telling you it was like kind of a prophecy, what is going to happen in future. And they used to burn those bones, and with the sound of the crackling sound, they used to predict the future. They themselves used to decipher that this means that, and this is how it is. This is what they used to infer. Now, as an assignment, I've given complete the following sentences. Sentences, yes. Write in your words that how the books we read today are different from the books of past. This can be a sentence. Yes or no? How you will reframe it? The books we read today are different from the books of past because ... So you will complete it in few sentences. Maybe say how many words you can write on your own? 60 words? Can be 60 or 80 words. Now the B section says megaliths are found in dash. Slaves were used for dash. potholes were used for? Again, blank. Stone circles or boulders on the surface were used to dash, and people at Inamgaon ate. This was the last thing we were talking about. Yes, it ate fruits, bay, ramla, jamun, variety of berries, right? So most of the things which I have given here, I have already discussed in the module, and you would be finding it easy to do, and it is not very time consuming. If you sit for half an hour, you will be able to complete the assignment, and sooner you complete, you should post it. And where you are going to post and where you are going to submit, you will be submitting it in the Google Classroom. Clear? Because again, the following week you would be having another assignment, and then if you do not submit it on time, it would be piled up with you. Later on, you'll have to do a lot of work. So get going with the assignment, complete the assignment, enjoy doing the assignment where I've given you write it in your own words. So this is your own imaginary visualization. You will write it on your own. What you think, what in your opinion it is. How different are the books we read today are from the old books. Old books can be Vedas. Old books can be any of such which had been written by sages, or which had been written as hymns, which were oral, transmission of knowledge was given, so on and so forth. So with this, I end up today's session. Get going with the assignment. If you need to go through the module once again, you go through it once again, and what all I have given in the assignment, all that I have discussed in the module. So enjoy doing the assignment. Stay happy. Stay safe. Bye-bye.